season, when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy, and let me try with pleasured hands.
What if I told you that one of the most transformative powers you can tap into isn't action, but inaction? What if true mastery over your reality starts not by asserting your voice, but by intentionally choosing silence? In a world overwhelmed with opinions, demands, and constant stimulation, ignoring has become a revolutionary act. But not just any kind of ignoring, it's the kind that's woven with wisdom. Ignoring like the wise do, out of awareness, compassion, and clarity. Most people think power comes from control, from reacting, from defending themselves. They believe their identity is confirmed every time they win an argument or put their words above someone else's. Yet the ancient masters of the East, especially in the Buddhist tradition, taught something very different. They taught that the one who doesn't react is freer than the one who always responds, that anyone who refuses to waste energy on what doesn't deserve it.
Have you ever heard
to govern their inner world like a calm emperor? Imagine for a moment you're walking along a mountain trail. With every step, someone throws stones at you, hoping you'll stop, turn around, and fight back. But you stay silent and steady, and every stone just falls to the ground without touching you. Far off, the noise fades. The mountain stands unmoved by the wind. This is the art of wise ignoring. This video dives deep, not into the ego that insists on being right, but into the soul that longs for peace. We'll explore the subtle power of non-reaction, how Buddhism has taught for centuries the path to equanimity, and why not engaging is one of the highest forms of protecting your energy. We'll show you why you don't have to respond to everything, how to tell what deserves your attention and what's just trying to drain you, and how to build an unshakable mind in the middle of chaos. Because in noisy times, conscious silence becomes the greatest wisdom. Get ready to discover a teaching as old as it is powerful, a secret hidden in plain sight but understood by few. When ignoring comes from understanding, not indifference.
Are you ready for this?
It's a way of loving your peace. Protecting your peace means protecting your soul. When Siddhartha Gautama, the prince who gave up his kingdom, sat under the Bodhi tree, he wasn't seeking the noise of the world, but its silent heart. The Buddha, as he came to be called, didn't teach his followers to respond aggressively, win debates, or protect their social image. He taught them to see clearly, and when you see clearly, you stop engaging with what has no real substance. One of Buddhism's deepest teachings is detachment. But that doesn't mean shutting off your feelings. It means not getting tangled up in them. It means observing an emotion, a judgment, or criticism like you'd watch a cloud float across the sky. You notice it, accept it, and let it pass. This is key to understanding the spiritual power of ignoring others. It's not contempt, but inner mastery. Buddhists call this upekkha, equanimity. It's the crowning jewel among the four sublime states of mind, alongside compassion, loving kindness, and empathetic joy. Equanimity means staying centered even when the world shakes around you. It means ignoring not out of indifference or pride, but from compassion that keeps your energy from spilling into distractions that don't support your path. Take a historical example. When Buddha was confronted by provocateurs, he didn't get angry. He responded with questions. When insulted, he didn't retaliate, but smiled. When a man shouted harsh words expecting a reaction, Buddha simply said, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who owns the gift?" In this way, the insult bounced back to the attacker, not through force, but emptiness. This approach was revolutionary at the time, even subversive, because while leaders and priests argued over status, Buddha taught that true freedom comes when you stop basing your identity on others' judgments. As the Dhammapada says, like a solid rock, the wise remain unmoved by praise or blame. The Mahayana and Zen schools of Buddhism took this wisdom even further. In Zen, the teacher doesn't respond with long explanations, but with silence, a gesture, or a paradox. They teach that wisdom isn't in the answers we give, but in the space we create between stimulus and reaction. In that space lies our freedom. So wise ignoring isn't a tactic to show superiority, but a path to the sovereignty of the soul. It frees us from the mask theater, where everyone wants to be right, and connects us with the bright center that watches without judgment, without reaction, without attachment. At the heart of Buddhist teaching is the image of the mind as a calm lake. When the lake is still, it reflects the moon, stars, and sky perfectly. But when you stir it or throw stones in, what you see is distorted. This metaphor reveals a core truth. When we react, we lose clarity. When we observe, we begin to understand. Wise ignoring doesn't mean closing your eyes or running from life. It's about protecting the purity of your inner lake. In a world full of stimuli, opinions, and reactive emotions, ignoring is not weakness, it's spiritual strength. Not passivity, but a conscious choice to not feed what doesn't build you up. Buddhism teaches that everything we perceive, through senses, other people's words, opinions, judgments, is impermanent. The Buddha called this anicca, the impermanence of all things. So if insults don't last, why carry them as a burden for years? Why let outside noise control your inner state? Here's a key principle: cause and effect. In Buddhist thought, everything we experience comes from a cause and produces an effect. If we react to criticism with anger, we plant seeds for more suffering. But if we watch the emotion rise without acting on it, we break the cycle, we free our karma, and that in itself is a quiet revolution. Zen, the Japanese branch of Buddhism, deepens this teaching through a seemingly simple practice: Zazen, seated meditation. It's not about escaping the world, but about watching your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. You don't cling to the clouds nor try to push them away by force. You simply breathe and observe. Over time, this practice naturally carries over into everyday life. When someone offends you, you don't react right away. You breathe, observe, and choose to act from presence, not impulse. A powerful example is the monk who, after being slapped, didn't respond. His disciple, shocked, asked why he didn't defend his dignity. The master answered, "What value is there in defending a self that has no real existence?" This simple statement reflects one of Buddhism's core truths. The ego is an illusion built from attachment to our perceptions. Ignoring what feeds the ego is a step toward true freedom. That said, this doesn't mean accepting abuse or violence. Buddhism clearly distinguishes between non-reaction and passivity. Wise ignoring includes setting healthy boundaries out of compassion, without hatred or revenge.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
My father once told me, "Son, you see silence? Silence is power. Never explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Never waste time proving your worth to those who can't see it. Stay silent. Stay focused. and let your success be the loudest response. He taught me that not everyone deserves an explanation, and not every battle is worth fighting. Some people will twist your words, no matter how carefully you speak. Some will doubt you, no matter how hard you prove yourself. That's why silence is a weapon. Because when you stop talking and start doing, the results speak for themselves. So let them doubt you. Let them question you. Let them misunderstand you. It's not your job to convince them. Your only job is to keep moving forward, to keep building, to keep proving them wrong without ever saying a word. Because in the end, words fade, but success, that's undeniable.
It's the art of acting without being controlled by emotion, responding without getting trapped. A mind trained not to react doesn't become hardened, but lighter, like a lotus flower rooted in mud, yet remaining spotless. So when someone tries to hurt you, you don't play their game. When everything around you shakes, you become the steady center. That's the practice, that's the power. Mastering this doesn't happen overnight. It requires inner awareness, humility, and consistent effort. But each time you choose silence over automatic reaction, detachment over outside approval, you strengthen a rare and precious quality, mastery over your own energy. According to the sacred texts of Mahayana Buddhism, the Bodhisattva, the awakened being who chooses to stay in the world to help others, acts not out of noise, but from deep silence. This silence isn't a lack of words, but a presence so complete that no insult can penetrate it. At that point, ignoring becomes a practice as refined as the most delicate spiritual art. It's the invisible sword that cuts through the ego, the armor that protects the soul. In a culture obsessed with responding, constantly needing to voice opinions, prove points, defend positions, and persuade, ignoring becomes a revolutionary act. But here's an important distinction. Ignoring is not contempt, it's discernment. It's not about shutting your heart, but opening it wide enough that trivial things no longer sway it. Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment, to recognition, to identity, to outside judgment. When someone ignores, criticizes, or betrays you, what really hurts isn't the act itself, but the story you tell yourself about it. I'm not enough, I'm rejected, I must defend myself. These stories are the ego's chains. The deepest form of ignoring is releasing those stories. It's not ignoring other people, but ignoring your own interpretation. Many Buddhist masters point out that true spiritual strength isn't about how many teachings or mantras you know, but about keeping your balance when the world falls apart. This is the practice of upekkha, one of the four sublime states, often translated as imperturbability. It's not emotional indifference, but a calmness that doesn't depend on what's happening outside. The art of ignoring also asks a tough question. How much energy do you waste reacting to things that don't deserve it? Every uncontrolled emotion, every repetitive thought, every impulsive response drains your life force. Buddhism teaches that preserving this energy is key.
If you don't know where to start in Top Heroes World, the spring
Forward on the path to enlightenment. Ignoring, then, is a way to protect your inner sanctuary. There's an old Zen saying, when the wise point to the moon, the fool looks at the finger. In other words, the more we focus on surface stuff, the criticism, judgment, passing opinions, the further we drift from deeper truth. Learning to ignore means learning to see the moon through the noise of pointing fingers, the distractions and demands. It's also crucial to realize that ignoring from awareness isn't disconnecting, but aligning. It's acting from your center, not from the edges. The monk who smiles at provocation does so not because he feels nothing, but because he understands peace doesn't depend on outside circumstances. By ignoring the attack, he embraces his practice, and that's compassion, not feeding the cycle of suffering. Often, the smartest thing you can do for yourself and others is to not respond on the same emotional wavelength that's attacking you. Rise up, breathe. Remember, you are not your emotions, not your passing thoughts, not the projections of others. Every time you decide not to react, not to get pulled in, not to respond from ego, you say, "I'm in charge of my temple." You honor the Buddhist truth that real freedom is born in the space between stimulus and response, and that space holds your deepest power. On the spiritual journey, ignoring is neither running away nor apathy. It's a higher form of self-care, a shield forged through discernment. But how can someone living an everyday life apply this wisdom without falling into avoidance or repression? Here are 5 key practices to help you develop the art of conscious ignoring without losing connection, without shutting down. First, silence as a sacred choice. Before you respond, pause. Take a deep breath. Notice the emotion that arises. Silence isn't emptiness, it's fertile ground where conscious responses grow. By ignoring certain triggers, hurtful words, provocations, or outside expectations, you're not silencing your voice, you're strengthening your inner throne. Make silence a daily habit. Start with just 5 minutes each day of simply listening to your breath, no judgment, no forcing. That inner space becomes your refuge when the world gets loud. Second, guard your energy. Not everything deserves your attention. Think of your vital energy like a sacred coin. Every thought you feed, every emotional reaction costs you. When you get caught up in pointless arguments or other people's drama, you drain your essence. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does it build me up or tear me down? Learning to ignore isn't about being cold. It's self-love in action. Stop being an open field where everything just lands. Learn to be like the sky, vast, calm, and unshakable. Third, practice observation, the mirror of others. Whenever someone irritates you or projects negativity, ask yourself, which part of me is reacting? Am I really seeing them or just my own unhealed wounds? Ignoring someone isn't denying them. It's recognizing that their judgment only has power if you hand over your identity. This practice turns automatic reactions into chances for self-discovery. The true wise person ignores because they understand that everything that affects them is part of themselves. Fourth, strengthen your spiritual center. When you're off balance, you wobble in any breeze. But when your center is grounded through meditation, reflection, prayer, or time in nature, you stand firm like a mountain in a storm. Create a daily ritual of connecting with the sacred, whether you call it God, emptiness, presence, or silence. That close connection with yourself builds a vibration that naturally pushes away anything not in tune with your higher frequency. Fifth, remember that ignoring protects what you're building. Every time you choose not to react, you're saying, "My peace is more important than your chaos." Ignoring from a place of Buddhist wisdom is a compassionate act. You don't let yourself get contaminated, and you don't let others keep the cycle of suffering going. Ignoring means looking with love and choosing not to get involved. When you live these practices, ignoring goes beyond defense and becomes an art. A way to return to your center, let go of the need for approval, and transform your life into a sanctuary of Looking at the heart of Buddhist teachings and many other spiritual paths, we find a hidden gem, shaped by time and fueled by compassion. Inner freedom isn't born from controlling what's outside, but from mastering how we respond. And from that peaceful mastery rises the highest virtue. The power to ignore what doesn't really matter. Ignoring isn't contempt or arrogance. It's a refined kind of discernment, a language only those who've stopped fighting their ego and started listening to their soul understand. When you ignore wisely, you're not running from the world. You're choosing which worlds to live in inside yourself. On this journey, you've come to realize that ignoring can be more revolutionary than reacting, that silence can cut deeper than 1,000 words, and that giving up the last word isn't weakness, but a spiritual strength. When you stop reacting to outside noise, you begin to hear the quiet whisper of your true self. Remember that. The great sages, mystics, and enlightened ones weren't those who forced their way through, but those who mastered detachment. Buddha didn't ignore the world out of indifference, but because he understood that many voices are just echoes of unresolved pain. Ignoring doesn't harden the heart. It opens it only to what lifts you up. In a world full of non-stop stimulation, endless opinions and judgments, falling like acid rain, learning to ignore is a practice of mental hygiene, a gift to your soul. When you decide not to engage, not to respond to empty criticism, and not to chase outside approval, you create space for peace, focus, and growth to flourish. And you're not alone on this path. More and more people are waking up to the truth that not everything needs a response. Not every word deserves to enter our energy field, and that we can and should choose what truly resonates. That's inner sovereignty. So if this message has struck a chord with you, if these words have sparked some clarity, I invite you to do something simple but powerful. Subscribe to this channel.
My father once told me, "Son, you see silence? Silence is power. Never explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Never waste time proving your worth to those who can't see it. Stay silent, stay focused, and let your success be the loudest response." He taught me that not everyone deserves an explanation, and not every battle is worth fighting. Some people will twist your words, no matter how carefully you speak. Some will doubt you, no matter how hard you prove yourself. That's why silence is a weapon. Because when you stop talking and start doing, the results speak for themselves. So let them doubt you. Let them question you. Let them misunderstand you. It's not your job to convince them.
Have you ever felt a deep sense of knowing, like a quiet voice inside you that isn't coming from your thoughts or feelings? It's not just your imagination, it's a signal. Something inside you is trying to communicate, and it's not your brain. Long before we understood the heart as just a pump for blood, people saw it as the seat of the soul, a center of deep wisdom and a mirror reflecting the mysteries of life. Ancient spiritual traditions didn't just guess this, they knew it for sure. They weren't talking about the physical heart, but a different kind of heart, one you can't see or touch. This spiritual heart wakes up when everything else falls away. Imagine that inside you there's a quiet temple made not of stone but of light and energy, a peaceful space that stays calm even when life is chaotic. That's the spiritual heart. It doesn't just handle your emotions, It directs your energy, guides your important choices, and connects you to something bigger than yourself. It's invisible, but very real. Maybe even more real. In this video, we'll look beyond the mystery and explore the idea that the true center of your life isn't your brain, but this sacred energy point deep in your chest. We'll learn what it really is, how ancient cultures understood it, and how you can start to activate it in your everyday life. We'll talk about how old civilizations saw its power, why modern science has mostly ignored it, and how waking it up can change your life from just going through the motions to living with true awareness. This won't be a quick or shallow explanation. I'll take you on a deep journey into human consciousness, sharing hidden teachings, symbols, and practical steps that could change how you see yourself. The spiritual heart is more than just a symbol. It's the real center of who you are, the true throne of your soul. Get ready, because what you're about to learn isn't just information. It's ancient wisdom. Once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. For thousands of years, wise people and mystics have said the real heart of a person isn't the one made of flesh and blood, but an invisible core where the eternal lives. This spiritual heart has been called many names: the soul's center, the inner temple, the lotus of the chest. But its role is always the same: to connect the human with the divine. For the ancient Egyptians, the heart was more than just important. It was where consciousness and morality lived. In the Book of the Dead, when someone passed away, their heart was weighed against a feather representing truth and order. If the heart was heavy with guilt or impurities, their soul would be destroyed. It wasn't their thoughts being judged, but their heart. This shows how much they saw the heart as the record keeper of a person's true life. In India's Vedic traditions, there's the idea of Anahata, the fourth chakra located in the center of the chest. It means unstruck sound or original vibration, representing pure awareness. Beyond the fight between mind and matter, Anahata isn't just an energy center. It's the doorway to unconditional love, compassion, and deep intuition. According to yogis, this is where the soul begins to realize its true nature. Islamic mysticism, especially Sufism, talks about the spiritual heart called qalb. They see it as a mirror. When clean, it reflects divine light. When covered with dust like ego or desires, it can't reflect the truth. Sufis don't just want knowledge in their heads. They want their hearts to wake up, because that's where the true connection with God happens. Even in Christian mysticism, there's the idea of the Sacred Heart, a symbol of divine love shining from the center of our being. Saints and visionaries describe the heart as a burning flame, a sacred place inside. Saint Teresa of Avila called the soul an inner castle with the deepest room, with God. Different cultures and times all agreed on this. There is a place beyond thinking, a secret room of the soul where eternal wisdom lives. This wasn't just a story or a metaphor. It was a truth felt by those brave enough to quiet their minds and dive deep into their inner core. Today's world, focused on logic and material things, often ignores this hidden heart inside us. But if we look back at ancient wisdom, we see it's not just about a symbol or idea. It's about rediscovering a real spiritual part of ourselves that's been lost. And what's at stake is huge: our connection to something eternal, something real and sacred within us. The spiritual heart isn't a fantasy or just a feeling. It's a real energy center, even though we can't see it with our eyes. To really understand it, we have to go beyond regular biology and psychology and explore a deeper map of who we are. a map where body, mind, soul, and spirit are all connected, like threads in a complex tapestry. According to ancient teachings, we have multiple layers of being: the physical body, an energy or subtle body, the mind, emotions, and beyond all that, a spiritual body. The spiritual heart sits right where the energy body and the soul meet. It's where life energy is organized and where our higher will shows up. In other words, it's like a quiet control center that manages not just the energy flowing through us, but also the spiritual direction of our lives. Unlike the brain, which works through logic and step-by-step thinking, the spiritual heart works through intuition and feeling. It senses truth not by analyzing, but by recognizing a kind of inner knowing, like hearing a song for the first time, but feeling like you've always known it. This heart doesn't beat by a clock. It beats by the rhythm of the soul. Many traditions talk about the human energy field, sometimes called the aura or body of light, which has energy centers called chakras. The spiritual heart is located in the middle of the chest, near the heart chakra called anahata, but they're not the same thing. The chakra is like a spinning wheel of energy, helping the flow move. The spiritual heart is the center that decides where that energy goes. Think of the chakra as the instrument and the spiritual heart as the musician playing it. When the spiritual heart wakes up, big changes start to happen inside. Instead of just following selfish desires, a person begins to listen to deeper guidance. A new kind of moral compass appears, one that goes beyond rules or outside beliefs. Real compassion arises naturally, not because you have to, but because you truly connect with life. And most importantly, you gain clarity that lets you see what's real and what's not, in a way that thinking alone can't provide. Ancient teachers said the spiritual heart is the true place of the I Am, the part of us that watches without judging, loves without needing to own, and understands without effort. It's the quiet witness inside all of us, present from birth and lasting beyond death. Like a part of the soul that also acts like an antenna here in this world. That's why in spiritual traditions like Sufism, Tantric Buddhism, or Christian mysticism, awakening the heart is seen as essential. Without it, spiritual practice can become empty repetition or just going through the motions. But once the spiritual heart comes alive, everything changes. Meditation feels meaningful. Prayer becomes a real connection. Even everyday life feels sacred. That's when we realize the real spiritual journey isn't about looking outward or climbing some ladder. It's about going inward to that hidden place where the truth has always been waiting. Waking up the spiritual heart isn't easy or automatic. It's a process like an inner transformation that needs both courage and letting go. This heart has always been inside us, like a seed under the ground. But to activate it, we have to move through layers of forgetfulness, emotional pain, false identities, and distractions. It's not about creating something new, but remembering who we really are at our core. One of the biggest blocks to waking up this heart is the ego, the part of our mind that builds a separate me. The ego is smart and tricky, resisting change. It runs on fear, comparison, judgment, and a need to control. While the ego wants to be right, the spiritual heart wants to understand. While the ego fears losing things, the spiritual heart owns nothing and fears. Because you want it to. It fades away when a higher awareness shows up. And that awareness is born in the spiritual heart. Many mystical traditions talk about a secret fire burning deep in the center of the chest. Alchemists called it the fire of inner transformation. In Kabbalah, there's mention of a divine spark called nitzatz that lives in the human heart and longs to reconnect with infinite light. This fire isn't physical, but more like a vibration. When we start living from the spiritual heart, this fire lights up and begins to burn away anything that's not real. Fake masks fall away, illusions disappear, and what's left is the truth. So what does that awakening feel like? How can you tell if you're truly living from the spiritual heart and not just caught up in a temporary emotion? The heart awakening isn't about feeling super happy or euphoric, though those can happen sometimes. It's more like a deep, steady peace that doesn't depend on what's happening around you. It's a quiet confidence, a feeling of being bigger inside, where you start seeing others not as separate people but as parts of yourself. It's like an invisible door opens inside you, giving you access to a kind of wisdom that you haven't learned from books, but feels ancient and deeply familiar. At first, this feeling doesn't stay all the time. It comes in flashes, moments of silence, moments of pure love, or times during meditation when your sense of self fades away for a bit. But with practice and openness, this heart becomes the real center of your life.
Is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is. You're right. It's fact.
You stop reacting just out of your mind or your impulses and instead respond from a calm, aware presence that watches, accepts, and shines light on everything. What's really interesting is that when the spiritual heart wakes up, it also turns on an inner guide. Many people describe this as a soft voice or whisper that doesn't boss you around but gently guides you in the right direction. This voice doesn't need to shout. It's clear to anyone who's tuned into their soul, even with noise all around. When this happens, something amazing takes place. The spiritual heart not only changes how you see things, but it also improves the flow of your life energy, called prana, chi, or subtle energy, depending on the tradition. Your body starts healing, your emotions balance out, and your mind becomes clearer. The spiritual heart organizes your whole energetic system, like a conductor leading an orchestra, not by force, but through the vibration of conscious love. This is the big secret many ancient traditions kept. The spiritual heart isn't just for seeing the truth, it's a tool for real transformation. It's the foundation of true spiritual growth. And the most amazing part? This hidden organ has always been inside you, patiently waiting for you to listen and wake it up. Awakening the spiritual heart isn't just for saints, monks, or mystics living apart from the world. It's something anyone can do who wants a deeper, more meaningful life. But it won't happen by chance. It takes intention, regular practice, and a genuine willingness to look inside yourself. Here are a few things you can start doing to spark and keep the flame of your spiritual heart alive. 1. Create inner silence. The spiritual heart speaks softly. To hear it, you need quiet, not just outside, but inside your mind, too. Calm the constant chatter, judgments, and worries. Spend a few minutes every day, maybe just 10, sitting quietly without trying to fix or think about anything. Just be still. This creates the right space for your heart to start speaking. 2. Focus on the center of your chest. Gently bring your attention to the middle of your chest. You can do this while meditating, walking mindfully, or even during daily activities. This simple act acts like a key, waking up the heart's energy. Over time, you may begin to feel warmth or a living presence there, almost like the heart is answering your call. 3. Align your thoughts, words, and actions. The spiritual heart thrives when what you think, say, and do are in sync. This creates a clear path for its energy to flow. It strengthens your energy and sharpens your inner awareness. It's not about being perfect, but about being real, having the courage to act from your truth, even if it's not easy or popular. Fourth, turn your pain into a doorway. Deep wounds, losses, and tough times often push us towards spiritual awakening. Instead of running away from pain, face it with your heart. Ask yourself, what part of me needs to be born again? Often the spiritual heart wakes up in the darkest moments because that's when masks fall off and the real truth shines through. Don't deny your pain. Use it as a path to something sacred.
I found something in a box.
It's the time of the season.
Serve others with loving awareness. Helping others with a pure heart is one of the strongest ways to awaken the spiritual heart. It's not about doing what you feel you have to do, but about seeing others as a part of yourself. When you serve from your heart, you connect with a higher energy. Every small act becomes a sacred way to connect with something greater. Sixth, practice gratitude as a spiritual act. Gratitude isn't just a nice feeling, it's a powerful force for change. When you truly give thanks from deep inside, you raise your energy and your spiritual heart begins to bloom. Be thankful for what's visible and invisible, for the easy and the hard. Gratitude feeds the secret garden of your soul. These aren't just mechanical steps, they are sacred actions. Like anything sacred, they need respect, consistency, and love. If you bring them into your life, not as chores but as gifts, you'll be planting seeds for a life led by your heart, from the hidden place where your deepest truth lives. We live in a noisy world. Screens glow, opinions shout, time slips away, and it's hard to focus. In this chaos, we've lost touch with the one place where truth doesn't have to be proven, where peace doesn't depend on outside things, and where wisdom isn't taught but remembered, the spiritual heart. Through this journey, we've seen that this heart isn't just a pretty idea or romantic symbol. It's a real bright center recognized by the world's greatest spiritual traditions. Egyptians, yogis, Sufis, mystical Christians, all pointing to the same truth in their own words. Inside you is a temple, and inside that temple burns a flame that can't be put out. Though sometimes it's forgotten. Modern science has done amazing work studying the mind and body, but has mostly ignored the invisible soul. But things are changing. More and more people feel a restlessness that logic or stuff can't fix, a thirst for something deeper. That's the spiritual heart starting to call you awake. The hardest part of this journey isn't finding the spiritual heart, it's trusting it. Living from the heart means breaking old patterns, stopping the mind when it sabotages you, giving up quick pleasures for deeper truth, and most of all, letting go of the need to control everything. But the payoff is huge. Living from your spiritual heart means finding your inner compass, remembering that you're not separate from life, but part of its sacred flow. It means seeing that every person, every moment of pain or joy fits into a bigger, beautiful symphony, guided not by chance, but by the soul's intelligence. It's learning to move not with hurried steps, but with the calm respect of someone who knows every moment is a doorway. I invite you not to let this stay just a nice idea. Bring it into your life. Talk to your heart every morning. Feel it when you make decisions. Ask it questions your mind can't answer. Listen to it when the world wants you to be someone you're not. And above all, trust it. If you keep going, if you care for that flame, one day your spiritual heart won't just guide you, it will be your true home. And in that home, there's no loneliness, no confusion, no fear, only a calm, timeless certainty that you are exactly where you're meant to be, and that everything you need to remember who you are is already burning in the center of your chest. If this message spoke to you, if it sparked something in
to live for the future is an indefinite postponement of life. You go through in your education a whole series of steps. The word in Latin, gradus, means a step. So we have first grade, second grade, third grade, gradus, gradus, gradus. Finally become a graduate. You know, you've gone along the steps. But you're still doing it. So that when you become finally successful as the president of your corporation, you have a funny feeling of being cheated. You've climbed the stairway and you've got to the top, and there's nowhere else to go. And since you've never been taught to live in the present, you don't know how to. So an insurance salesman comes around and says, listen, I've got the very thing for you, a retirement program, because when you're 65, you'll drop out of the system. And then you'll really be able to enjoy yourself, see, despite your prostate trouble, menopause, false teeth, and everything else. And the art of living in the eternal now is not taught in our educational system. And it's not taught because it's thought of as being feckless, irresponsible. It isn't irresponsible at all. It is everybody's duty, I could put it that way, to enjoy themselves. Because if you don't do that, you become a nuisance. You become aggressive, you become a robber, you become a thief, you become somebody who's trying to organize the rest of the world, that is to say, a power maniac, simply because you haven't learned the very simple, inexpensive art of living in the present moment. It really doesn't take an awful lot of energy to maintain a human life. If you really consider what you need to eat, what you need to wear, how much housing you have to have, it comes down to something quite simple. And the simpler, the more you have the capacity to enjoy watching a raindrop crawl down a window. But if you watch a raindrop crawl down a window and you think, my, everybody says, you're crazy. You're watching a raindrop fall down a window. Can't you find something more important to do? That means, can't you make more trouble than that? The mentality that doesn't recognize the importance of watching a raindrop crawl down a window is the one that is creating the trouble in the world today. Say you are of no value, you're not even human, unless you're changing things, unless you're interfering, unless you're progressing. We confuse growing with progressing. Unless something is happening, a great operation, a new project is going on, and you're busy with it, we say, well, you're lazy. You're good for nothing. because you are not working for the future. But they say, if you're working for the future, you're quite mad. So they don't work for the future. Just like a Chinese coolie works long enough to make some money. Then he knocks off work and he goes to the gambling joint. And he gambles. Or he smokes opium. Or just generally wanders around and digs the scene. And we say, well, that's awful. That's irresponsible. You can't do that. That's not maintaining the world properly. What do you think? Maybe that is maintaining the world properly. Maybe it's we who think that everything should be progressing who are destroying the world. Of course we are. By our Protestant ethic, by our notion of keeping everything in charge, it's true. We have a great initial success. We destroy diseases. We keep people alive. But on the end is the H-bomb. To get rid of it all entirely. So these non-political people are saying to us, the trouble with you is you don't know what you want. You have a future which you're working for, but you're all wretch and no vomit. You promised yourselves the good thing is going to happen. You keep promising, 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 promising. Even your money is a promise. It says on the dollar bill that the Treasury of the United States will promise to pay $1. What are you going to get if you deliver this and say, come on now, I want whatever it is that this dollar is. And they just can give you credit. Because it's paper, it's all symbolism. So all these myriads of so-called primitive people, like Amerindians, Mexican Indians, Africans, don't communicate with us, and we don't communicate with them, because they don't want what we think is the desirable good society. Well, some of them do, of course. So in Japan, for example, the Japanese have been thoroughly conned into the idea that the Western way of life is a great thing. And so they are, by and large, frantic industrialists. And so, as a result, the cities of Nara, Osaka, Kobe are covered in smog. Tokyo is just a madhouse. They're getting it. So the whole point is, the future is an illusion. Technology, that in the course of time, you go through the series of yugas, or the epochs, and you begin with a great state of affairs, and it gradually deteriorates. Is a way of saying to people, in the course of time, things only fall apart. Therefore, get out of time. Get off the wheel of samsara, the rat race. So this underlies my idea of what I call the politics of diversion. Divert Western man from history, from the notion that he is in a historical process which is leading to something always better and better and better, but which in fact only leads to more and more destruction. Divert people from time by living a style of life which is timeless and which is therefore more attractive than life devoted to time. That doesn't exclude our technological power. Part of the whole point of technology is that through technology, we have the power to obliterate poverty completely. But this must not be looked at in a historical way. While it is looked at in a historical way, it will not work. That is to say, the whole problem of money And the distribution of the wealth of the world as produced by technology is a psychological problem and not a material problem.
Dad, come on!
People are hypnotized with money, which is the symbol of wealth, as if it was something that was valuable in its own right. That's the confusing money with gold. When Ramakrishna said that one of the evils of the world was gold, he was, I think, perhaps unconsciously quite correct. There's a story that once upon a time, all the banks in the world got tired of shipping gold from country to country. And so they decided to open an office in an island in the Pacific where all the banks had their headquarters and all the gold was put together there, so that all they needed to do when they had to exchange some gold was to trundle it across the street. And operations proceeded beautifully for about 10 years. And then all the heads of the banks from the different countries came with their wives and their children to visit the island and have a great convention. And so they inspected the books and the transactions, and everything was in perfect order. At last the children said, "Daddy, want to see the gold?" And so the bank president said to the managers, "Take our children down to the vaults so that they could see the gold." And so all those managers said, it's sort of difficult and a little problematic, and it takes a lot of time. And the president said, "Well, don't be stupid. What's the matter? Can't they see the gold?" So they hummed and hawed and said, "Well, we're sorry to report that 7 years ago there was a disastrous subterranean earthquake, and all the gold was swallowed up." But of course, we all knew how much we had at that time, and so we've kept the books accordingly. So it's a joke. People don't realize, in other words, that money is bookkeeping. Nothing but bookkeeping. And therefore, the whole idea of taxation, for example, is a complete anachronism. The thing that is stopping the flow of the actual wealth of the world is this fixation on money. What you need to do is actually reverse taxation. And issue, instead of charging taxes, issue credit. Then, but you have to keep the credit balanced to the gross national product in some form of figuring. And then everybody can circulate what they're making. Otherwise, you're in this ridiculous situation where people are starving in India, and we are hoarding food supplies and burning them and dumping them in the ocean, which is sheer insanity. But it's all based on a psychological block about money. So, this kind of psychological block is what in Indian philosophy would be called a maya. It is an illusion, and it's the same kind of illusion as that of the future, of the idea that the future is when we're really going to live. And if that's the way you operate, when you get there, you're never going to be able to handle it because you still want a future ahead of you. You're a perpetual donkey with a carrot suspended from your collar on a rod like this, and you're pursuing it.
Examine what is said, not who is speaking. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Don't set sail using someone else's star. Do not call a dog with a whip in your hand. Once you carry your own water, you'll remember every drop. Knowledge is a garden. If it isn't cultivated, it can't be harvested. A roaring lion kills no game. Restless feet might walk into a snake pit. No shortcuts exist to the top of the palm tree. When two elephants fight, it is the grass that gets hurt. Tomorrow belongs to people who prepare for it today. No medicine exists that can cure hatred. All monkeys cannot hang from the same branch. He who digs a grave for his enemy might as well dig it for himself.
Let's get it. This that go and get it. With no hesitation. This that never quit. Start that elevation. This that process. This that in the making. This that started from the bottom. This that motivation.
Even the lion protects himself against flies. However long the night, the dawn will break. If you heal a person's leg, do not be surprised if they use it to run away. To try and to fail is not laziness. Seeing is different than being told. No matter how beautiful and well-crafted a coffin might be, it will not make anyone wish for death. Wood already touched by fire is not hard to set alight. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole in it. A feeble effort will not fulfill the self. Having a good discussion is like having wealth. Don't think there are no crocodiles just because the water is calm. He who refuses to obey cannot command. One falsehood spoils 1,000 truths. The earth is a beehive. We all enter by the same door. Rain does not fall on one roof alone. However far a stream flows, it doesn't forget its origin. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try spending the night with a mosquito. If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. The eye never forgets what the heart has seen. No person is born great. Great people become great when others are sleeping. When an old man dies, a library is burned with him.
What you want to do is save hundreds with Liberty Mutual.
Should be in love, and love in truth. When you marry a monkey for his wealth, The money goes, but the monkey remains. Where there is love, there is no darkness. When one is in love, a cliff becomes a meadow. One who loves you with your dirt. If love is a sickness, patience is the remedy. To love someone who doesn't love you is like shaking a tree to make the dewdrops fall. If the full moon loves you, why worry about the stars? Don't be so in love that you can't tell when it's raining. Do not treat your loved one like a swinging door. You are fond of it, but you push it back and forth. Love doesn't listen to rumors. Don't try to make someone hate the person he loves. He will go on loving, but he will hate you. Love doesn't rely on physical features. One who plants grapes by the roadside and one who marries a pretty woman share the same problem. True love means what's mine is yours. A fish and a bird may fall in love, but the two cannot build a home together. The heart of the wise man lies quiet like limpid water. Only a wise person can solve a difficult problem. In a moment of crisis, the wise build bridges, but the foolish build dams. If you are filled with pride, then you will have no room for wisdom. A man who uses force is afraid of reasoning. Wisdom is not like money to be tied up and hidden. One who causes others misfortune also teaches them wisdom. A fool cannot untie the knot tied by a wise man. To get lost is to learn the way. If you close your eyes to facts, you will learn through accidents. Just because the lizard nods its head doesn't mean he's in agreement. A wise man fills his head before emptying his mouth. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. A fool has to say something. A wise person has something to say. A wise man never takes a step too long for his leg. Give advice. If people don't listen, let adversity teach them. When deeds speak, words are meaningless. A wise person doesn't fall down the same hill twice. A united family eats from the same plate. A family tie is like a tree. It can bend, but it cannot break. We desire to bequeath two things to our children. The first is roots, the second is wings. Don't meddle with a family feud. A husband with a good wife will never be on the road without supplies. A small house will hold 100 friends. A woman is a flower in a garden. Her husband is the fence around it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Sticks in a bundle are unbreakable. If relatives help each other, what evil can hurt them? Home affairs should not be talked about in the public square. A child does not laugh at the ugliness of his mother. A happy man marries the girl he loves. A happier man loves the girl he married. If a woman doesn't love you, she calls you brother. Bad days, but good nights. In an African village, there lived a boy named Kofi. He always admired the work of the old potter Omari, whose clay pots were famous far beyond the village. People said that in his hands, even ordinary clay turned into a true wonder. One day, Kofi gathered his courage and went to the master. "Omari, teach me how to make pots as beautiful as yours," he asked. The old potter looked at the boy carefully, then handed him a lump of clay. "Very well, try it yourself." Kofi eagerly began shaping the clay. But the more he tried, the worse his work turned out. The first pot looked crooked, the second cracked when he tried to smooth its walls. After several days of effort, he had a pile of ruined pots in front of him. Frustrated, Kofi threw the clay onto the ground. "I can't do it," he explained. "I'm not made for this. My hands are too clumsy." Omari chuckled, then took out 2 pots and placed them in front of the boy. One was perfectly smooth and beautiful, while the other had slight irregularities and thick walls. "Which one do you like more?" the master asked. "The first one, of course. It's perfect." "Now try pouring water into it," Omari suggested. Kofi poured water into the first pot, but as soon as the liquid touched the walls, the pot cracked and the water spilled out. Then the boy poured water into the second pot, and it stayed inside. "Do you understand?" the master said gently. "Beauty without strength is worth nothing. Perfection comes only through mistakes." Kofi thought for a moment. "So if I don't give up, one day I'll make a pot that is both beautiful and strong?" Omari nodded. "Exactly. Every broken pot is a step toward mastery. And every time you criticize yourself, remember, clay doesn't become strong without fire, and a person doesn't become strong without challenges." From that day on, Kofi was no longer afraid of making mistakes. He worked even harder, and over time, his pots became the strongest and most beautiful in the village. Years passed, and one day, he repeated the wise words of the old potter Omari to his own son. Never criticize yourself for failures. They don't break you, they harden you.
More and more people around the world are interested in the philosophy of Confucianism. Confucianism's global popularity is rising due to its ethical clarity, cultural heritage appeal, relevance to modern challenges, and practical applications in governance and education. Its emphasis on virtues like benevolence and righteousness resonates with individuals seeking moral guidance, while its influence on East Asian society sparks curiosity and cross-cultural exchange. Today, I'm going to tell you about the 7 basic principles of Confucianism. Ren is a central principle in Confucianism, translating to benevolence or humaneness. It embodies compassion, kindness, and empathy towards others, guiding harmonious relationships in society. Ren emphasizes treating others with sincerity, respect, and care, fostering mutual understanding and social harmony. It serves as a moral compass, promoting ethical conduct and the cultivation of virtuous character in individuals, families, and communities. Lean Confucianism refers to ritual propriety, etiquette, and proper conduct in social interactions. It encompasses respectful behavior, adherence to customs, and observance of ceremonies that promote harmony and order within society. Li emphasizes the importance of maintaining social norms, showing respect for elders, and upholding traditions. It plays a vital role in shaping individual character, fostering moral integrity, and reinforcing social cohesion. Xiao is the Confucian principle of filial piety, emphasizing respect, devotion, and care for one's parents and ancestors. It forms the cornerstone of family ethics, promoting gratitude and reverence towards those who have nurtured and guided us. Xiao involves fulfilling familial duties, supporting parents in their old age, and honoring ancestors through rituals and remembrance. It cultivates virtues such as loyalty, humility, and gratitude, fostering strong family bonds and social cohesion. Zhong embodies loyalty, faithfulness, and commitment to one's responsibilities and duties. In Confucianism, it emphasizes the importance of maintaining loyalty to one's family, friends, community, and the state. Zhong entails fulfilling obligations with sincerity and integrity, even in challenging circumstances. It promotes social stability, trustworthiness, and reliability in relationships. Yi represents righteousness or justice in Confucianism, advocating for fairness, honesty, and moral integrity in actions and decisions. It involves upholding ethical principles and fulfilling moral obligations, even in the face of personal sacrifice or adversity. Yai emphasizes the importance of doing what is right and just, regardless of personal interests or societal pressures. Jin denotes sincerity, trustworthiness, and integrity in Confucianism. It emphasizes honesty, transparency, and authenticity in communication and relationships. Confucian teachings highlight the importance of cultivating Jin to build strong, reliable relationships based on sincerity and honesty. Yunzi refers to the ideal moral exemplar in Confucianism. It embodies the virtues of benevolence, righteousness, and wisdom, striving for self-cultivation and moral excellence. A Junzi demonstrates integrity, humility, and compassion in all endeavors, serving as a role model for others. Confucian teachings emphasize the importance of aspiring to Junzihood through continuous self-improvement and ethical conduct.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. When an old man dies, a library burns to the ground.
The ancient philosophers that emerged during classical antiquity were some of the finest the world has ever known. From Aristotle to Zeno, the intellect that was exuded during this period was so ahead of its time, their ideas and principles still hold immense value to this day. If you want to enhance your level of thinking, take note of the 7 rules of wisdom. Number 1, expand your horizons. The universe is much larger than the office cubicle. Only those that dare to step outside their comfortable homes will know what lies beyond the horizon. Changing your surroundings can change your thinking. As Seneca said, look at the stars lighting up the sky. No one of them stays in the same place. If you really seek enhanced wisdom and personal growth, you must step beyond your local boundaries, whether that's relocating or traveling. The further you go, the more you will gain. Number 2, fool's gold. The most foolish among us place their worth on their wealth and not on their value. Money cannot buy wisdom, and unchecked greed will destroy any person in time. Epicurus sums this up so simply. If a little is not enough for you, then nothing is. Focus on building your intellect and virtue. Realize money is just a tool, not your score in life. People who focus only on money allow their other faculties to crumble, and any foundation built on sand will soon see the sea. Number 3, know what you control. Marcus Aurelius was at one point the most powerful man on earth. Despite his status, he noted, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In the modern world, anxiety and stress have become silent killers. If you allow yourself to be overwhelmed by things that you have no control over, your life will end long before your death. Accept what you can't control and focus your power on what you can change if you want to make real progress. Number 4, kindness counts. Only the strongest and most intelligent people have the capacity for kindness. Cato the Younger summarized, "I begin to speak only when I'm certain what I'll say isn't better left unsaid." It takes a deep level of understanding to be kind to others, and it takes even more so to be kind to those that don't deserve it. Getting angry with someone is easy, but holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It will only harm you in the long run. Not only is kindness better for humanity, it is a much wiser way to approach hostilities and life in general. So always remember, kindness counts. Number 5, value true friendship. Friendship is one of the most beautiful things because you can only experience it if you put yourself on the line. Open up and share the embarrassing parts of your story. Cicero explained this emotional question by saying, "Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by doubling our joys and dividing our grief." The definition of friendship is a state of mutual trust. So clear out the fake friends and focus on people that you can trust if you want to live your best life. Number 6, sound mind. If you live in any modern city, alcohol and drugs are never far away. The scary thing about alcohol and drugs is that they actually work. They will actually help you escape pain. But escaped pain never made anyone stronger or wiser. As Pythagoras explained, strength of mind rests in sobriety, for this keeps your reason unclouded by passion. True freedom is only achieved by overcoming the struggle within. We all have difficult moments, some more than others, but overcoming these moments is where wisdom and strength is formed. Number 7, this life is yours. The moment you accept that this life is your responsibility, that no one is coming to save you, that no circumstances are responsible for how you think, you will begin to approach life differently. The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. Plato. Things will go wrong, but blaming others or making excuses will only corrupt your own thought processes. You can create any life you want when you choose to accept responsibility of creating it. It's time to begin working on your greatest masterpiece, your life.
I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going.
For this leak free sets them free. Only Pampers Cruisers 360 have a 360 stretchy waistband for up to 100% leak.
Don't know that I could cook fruit. When life give me pressure, I still show the good fruit. I treat it
Be
like
the
my
change
last
you
breath
want
and
to
I just
see in
push
the
through.
world.
I don't believe in failure cause I can't afford it. And if it ain't meant for me, then I ain't about to force it. I think about the victory and trigger my endorphins. The mission too important, ain't no way I could abort it. So I gotta keep I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going.
Be the change you want to see in the world. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. You can never cross the ocean until you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that our aim is too low and we hit it. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Being alone is better than being with someone bad. Do not feel lonely. The entire universe is inside you. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. A mother's heart is a child's school. The richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. The mouth should have 3 gatekeepers. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Get together like brothers, but work together like strangers. We have 1 mouth and 2 ears for a reason. We need to listen more than we speak. Examine what is said, not he who speaks. Jealousy is nothing more than a fear of abandonment. A secret is like a dove. When it leaves my hand, it takes wings. Whatever is forbidden is desired. When it comes to the stomach, the mind is lost. A paradise without people is not worth stepping foot in. Whoever gets burned by soup blows on yogurt. Wishing does not make a poor man rich. A sense of humor is the pole that adds balance to our steps as we walk the tightrope of life. You reap what you sow. Ask your purse what you should buy. You will know your friend in time of need. A house divided cannot stand. Believe what you see and lay aside what you hear. Avoid things that will require an apology. A known mistake is better than an unknown truth. Beware of him to whom you have been charitable.
Get 3 times points.
A pebble can support a barrel. Beware the level-headed person if he's angry. Close the door that brings in the wind and relax. Determination is the key to everything. A tree begins with a seed. Be patient and you'll get what you want. Actions speak louder than words. Be wary around your enemy once and your friend 1,000 times. A double-crossing friend knows more about what harms you. The saddest person is an envious person. Distance equals disaffection. Anger begins with madness, but ends in regret. Do not delay today's work for tomorrow. Arrogance diminishes wisdom. Discipline your son when he's young, and be his friend when he's grown. Arrogance is a weed that grows mostly on a dunghill. Experimentation is the greatest science. Ask the experienced rather than the learned. Every sun has to set. Avoid the company of liars, but if you can't, don't believe them. Do not eat your bread on somebody else's table. If you are charitable, you are rich. Go with the lesser of two evils. If you have an opinion, you better be determined. If the wind blows, ride it. Everyone is critical of the flaws of others, but blind to their own. If you're unable to reward, then make sure to thank. Falseness lasts an hour, the truth lasts forever. In haste there is regret, but in patience and care there is peace and safety. Give your friends your money and your blood, but don't justify yourself. Your enemies won't believe it, and your friends won't need it. He who digs a pit for his brother falls into it. It's better to fix what you have than wait to get what you don't have. Forgetting is the plague of knowledge. He whose house is made of glass should not throw stones. If speaking is of silver, then silence is of gold. Opinion comes before bravery. Planning is half of living. The smarter you are, the less you speak. Good health is a crown worn by the healthy that only the ill can see. The best answer comes from the person who is not angry. The rope of lies is short. The wisest person is the one who can forgive. It's better to avoid mistakes altogether than to do something you need to apologize for later. Keeping a secret is a commitment. The fruit of silence is tranquility. Put distance between you and everything dirty.
It's not the deli.
Lack of intelligence is the greatest poverty. The monkey is a gazelle in the eyes of its mother. The house of a tyrant is a ruin. Laugh and the whole world laughs with you. Cry and you cry alone. Lying is a disease. Truth is the cure. Necessity is the mother of invention. One will not attain everything he wishes for. The winds blow where they will, not where the ships wish. Silence is the sign of approval. Speaking is not seeing. The world is like a belly dancer. It dances a little while for everyone. Think of your exit before you enter. Tomorrow is close if you have patience. Visit rarely and you will be loved more. Wealth comes like a turtle and leaves like a gazelle. A foolish man may be known by 6 things: anger without cause, speech without profit, change without progress, inquiry without object, trusting a stranger, and mistaking foes for friends.
Only when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish been caught, and the last stream poisoned, will we realize we cannot eat money. There are 2 wolves fighting inside all of us. The first one is evil. The second one is good. Which wolf will win? The one you feed. When you were born, you cried, and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries, and you rejoice. It is better to have less thunder in the mouth and more lightning in the hand. Listen, or your tongue will make you deaf. Seek wisdom, not knowledge. Knowledge is of the past. Wisdom is of the future. The weakness of the enemy makes our strength. Do not judge your neighbor until you walk 2 moons in his moccasins. They are not dead who live in the hearts they leave behind. There is nothing as eloquent as a rattlesnake's tail.
It is less of a problem to be poor than to be dishonest. A brave man dies but once, a coward many times. Make my enemy brave and strong, so that if defeated, I will not be ashamed. The bird who has eaten cannot fly with the bird that is hungry. Cherish youth, but trust old age. Wisdom comes only when you stop looking for it and start living the life the Creator intended for you. Not every sweet root gives birth to sweet grass. Take only what you need and leave the land as you found it. It is no longer good enough to cry peace. We must act peace, live peace, and live in peace. When a man moves away from nature, his heart becomes hard. Beware of the man who does not talk and the dog that does not bark. Our pleasures are shallow. Our sorrows are deep. It does not require many words to speak the truth. Don't let yesterday use up too much of today. If a man is as wise as a serpent, he can afford to be as harmless as a dove. Poverty is a noose that strangles humility and breeds disrespect for God and man. Remember that your children are not your own, but are lent to you by the Creator. Walk lightly in the spring. Mother Earth is pregnant. Ask questions from your heart, and you will be answered from the heart. There is no death, only a change of worlds. What is life? It is a flash of firefly in the night. It is a breath of a buffalo in the wintertime. It is as the little shadow that runs across the grass and loses itself in the sunset. Which quote did you like the most? Don't tell your problems to everyone. 80% don't care, and the other 20% are glad you have them. Stop looking for the good in people. Start instead looking for good people. You have to do what is right for you. No one else is walking in your shoes. The more thankful you are, the more you attract things to be thankful for. Never let a bad day make you feel like you have a bad life. Every second you spend comparing your life to someone else's is a second spent wasting yours. You can lie down for people to walk on you, and they will still complain that you are not flat enough. When thinking about life, remember this: no amount of guilt can change the past, and no amount of anxiety can change the future. Every person in your life is a teacher. Some bring lessons about love and support. Others teach you what to avoid. You see a person's true colors when you are no longer beneficial to their life. Don't get married because you think it's something you have to do. You don't have as much time as you think. Tell those people you love that you love them, and say it often. If you've never questioned whether or not you made the right decision, you haven't taken big enough risks. Not everyone is down for you like they say they are. Never trust what someone says. Watch what they do. You can't love somebody enough to make them love you back. Be careful with your words. Once they are said, they can be only forgiven, not forgotten. Don't let someone who did you wrong make you think there's something wrong with you. Don't devalue yourself because they didn't value you. Know your worth, even if they don't. If you're willing to sacrifice what you want most for what you want now, then your future will always be filled with disappointment. Be single with peace of mind. Is way better than having a relationship with someone who makes your life miserable. Sometimes you just have to say no and ignore the guilt trip that follows. Often, the right thing and the hardest thing are the same. What you do today can improve all your tomorrows. Your situation will keep repeating itself until you learn your lesson. You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. It doesn't matter if you're right sometimes. The people you hang around will shape your life in more ways than you know. Sometimes there's no right decision to make. In those cases, first, you make a decision, and then you work to make it right. The greatest mistake you can make in life is to be continually fearing you will make one. Learn to be content and happy by yourself. If you need a company to be happy, then it will make you weak. You're not responsible for what other people expect from you. Not every thought needs to be expressed. There are things in life we don't want to happen, but have to accept. Things we don't want to know, but have to learn. And people we can't live without, but have to let go. No matter who tries to teach you lessons about life, you won't understand it until you go through it on your own.
The reason why certain people turn to philosophy, why I became a philosopher, was that since I was a little boy, I always felt that existence as such was weird. I mean, here we are. Isn't that odd? Of course it's odd. What do you mean by odd? Well, that's what's different from even. I mean, what's odd stands out. What's even lies flat. But you can't see the outstanding without the flat background. Here's the thing standing out. It's odd. Each one of you is odd. Strange, unique, particular, different. How do we know what we mean by that, except against the background of something even, that is not differentiated, like space? And so you get this philosophical itch. You begin to scratch your head and think about, why is that so? Well, after a while, you realize that's a meaningless question. And you ask, how is it so? Well, that leads you into science and other investigations. So you want to know, what is it? I mean, this happening, this thing called existence. What is it? You ask that question long enough and it suddenly hits you that if you could answer it, you wouldn't know what terms to put the answer in. I mean, when we investigate the properties of nature, and we do get some answers, all the answers are in terms of particular structures, forms, patterns. And these can be measured, and their behavior can be predicted. But when I want to ask the question, what are the forms made of? I mean, what is it really? We can't think of any way in which we could answer the question, because we would have to have a class of all classes. When you ask the question, what? It's like saying, is you is or is you ain't? Is you animal? Is you vegetable? Is you mineral? Are you a Republican or a Democrat? Are you male or female? Are you a Christian or a Jew or a Hindu or what have you? We classify always to give an answer to the question, what is it? And when you classify, you distinguish an inside group from an outside group. Right. So what we want to know is, what is the group of all groups?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, we can't imagine what the outside would be. So we can't answer the question. What is it? So the physicists finally abandoned the quest for stuff.
No, it's not the devil.
Let's get it. This that go and get it. With no hesitation. This that never quit. Start that elevation. This that process. This that in the making. This that started from the bottom. This that motivation.
So what we want to know is, what is the group of all groups? Well, we can't imagine what the outside would be. So we can't answer the question. What is it? So the physicists finally abandoned the quest for stuff. And they gave us a description of the universe entirely in terms of form. The pattern, not the stuff. When people ask, what's the web? Yeah, but you can't do that. What's the pattern made of? Surely mustn't there be an answer to that? See, what happens is, when you turn up the microscope, all stuff turns into form. It becomes articulate. You know, the carpet looks like some sort of stuff. But when you look at it under a microscope, you will see the crystalline structure of the nylon or whatever it's made of. See? They want to know, what are those crystals made of? All right? Turn up the volume, and you will find molecules. Turn up the volume, you find wavicles. But we think the wavicles must be of something. But of course they're not. We find substance or stuff totally vanishes. We say, does it matter? What does that mean? Does it matter? Is it important? In other words, does it measure up to anything? Matter comes from a Sanskrit root matra, which means to measure. So from this root matra, we get, going on into Sanskrit, we get the word maya. And maya is generally translated illusion, although it also means magic, creative power. The word illusion, switch over, we get that from Latin, and that comes from the Latin ludere, to play. Let's pretend that we matter. See, the world is a musical phenomenon. Good music never refers to anything except the music itself. You don't ask Mr. Bach, Mr. Ravi Shankar, what do you mean by this music? What is it intended to express? Listen. That's the meaning. Giraffes are giraffing, trees are treeing, stars are starring, clouds are clouding, rain is raining. And if you don't understand, look at it again. And people are peopling. Wow. We notice that all these suchnesses appear and disappear. They keep changing, they come and they go. But if you get hung up on your particular form, I'll have to alter the language a little bit, because you see, your form makes a duality, whereas you are your form. You're what you're doing. Now, you think, for some strange reason, I must make that go on as long as possible. And therefore you think you have an instinct to survive. And so the only thing anybody can agree about today, so far as the discussion of ethical and moral problems are concerned, is that we ought to survive. And therefore certain forms of conduct have survival value and certain forms don't. But when you say to yourself, you must go on living, you put yourself in a double bind. Because you said to a process which is essentially spontaneous that it must happen. And the basic form of the double bind, which is imposed upon all children, is you are required to do that which will be acceptable only if you do it voluntarily. So when we say to ourselves, you must go on, the reason is, you see, that we are not living in the eternal now, where reality is. We are always thinking that the satisfaction of life will be coming later. Don't kid yourself.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy, and let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name? Who's your daddy? He rich. Is he rich like me? Has he take us anytime to show you what you need to live? Tell it to me slowly. Tell you why I really want to know. It's the time of the season for loving.
Not everyone is meant to understand your pain, and not everyone deserves to hear it. Some people won't even care. And some will take your struggles as entertainment. That's the reality. See, when you share your problems with others, you're inviting them into a part of your life they haven't earned the right to see. It's not that you should bottle it up or keep everything hidden. Not everyone has the wisdom or compassion to understand what you're going through. Some people don't wish you well. They'll smile to your face, but secretly hope you stumble. Struggles are meant to strengthen you. They are weights meant to be lifted by you because no one else can understand the true weight of your pain, your dreams, your battles. It's your journey. And telling everyone about the obstacles on your path won't make them easier. There's power in silence. There's strength in handling your business quietly. Not everyone needs to know. So when you face tough times, when life throws its worst at you, hold it close. Embrace that struggle. Learn from it. Let it mold you in silence. Only share with those who have proven themselves. Share with those who uplift you, who listen without judgment, who support without hesitation. They're rare. And until you find them, let your progress speak for itself. Instead of telling people your problems, show them your resilience. Let them see the results. Because when you keep going, when you succeed quietly, when you rise above silently, that's when people will start to wonder, how did they do it? Let your success be the answer to every doubt, every struggle, every sleepless night. In the end, actions speak louder than words. So don't waste time explaining. Don't ask for pity. Go out there and prove them wrong. Take a moment and ask yourself, what do you gain from sharing your problems with the wrong people? In a world filled with noise, silence is your shield. When you stay silent, you keep your power. You don't let others define you by your struggles, by your pain. Instead, you define yourself by how you rise above it. Journaling, reflecting, sitting with your own thoughts, these are the practices that build inner strength. Not every struggle needs a spotlight. Not every difficulty deserves an audience. Sometimes the most powerful growth happens in the quiet moments when it's just you and your thoughts, your dreams, your determination. Ask yourself, are you sharing your pain because you need help or because you want validation? Because when you're honest, you'll realize that validation doesn't solve problems. Validation won't get you out of bed at dawn, won't put in the work, won't keep you going when everyone else has given up. Only you can do that. And the less you seek approval, the more unstoppable you become. When you keep your challenges to yourself, you're forced to face them head on. You develop resilience, you develop grit, and over time you learn to rely on yourself. You start trusting in your ability to overcome instead of depending on others' opinions or sympathy. It's in that silence, in those moments of solitude, that real strength is born. Remember, when the time comes, the world will see what you've been working toward. Your success, your growth. Those are the loudest statements you'll ever make. Let those speak for you. You don't need to explain the journey if they can see where it's led you. So keep moving forward, quietly, powerfully, and let your progress be your voice. And one day when they see how far you've come, they'll realize that silence wasn't weakness, it was strength. Think about the journey that lies ahead of you. The road won't be easy, and there will be times when you feel tempted to seek comfort in sharing your struggles. But that comfort is temporary. Real comfort, real strength comes from knowing that you faced every battle alone and conquered it. It's in those moments of solitude, of quiet self-reflection, that you find out who you truly are. Every sunrise is a reminder that you're given another day to fight, another day to grow, another day to move closer to your dreams. Embrace the solitude. Embrace the quiet work, because that's where your foundation is laid. That's where you become unbreakable. In this life, your strength will...
The power of unity. Once upon a time in the small village of Varan, there was a thriving farming community. Each year, the villagers worked hard to grow crops, raise animals, and prepare for the harsh winters. One summer, however, a terrible drought struck the village. The rivers dried up, the fields became barren, and the animals grew weak from thirst. Despite their best efforts, the farmers couldn't produce enough food to survive the upcoming winter. Desperate, the village leader, Marta, called a meeting. The villagers gathered in the town square, their faces etched with worry. "We must come together," Marta said. "If we work as one, we can find a way to endure this drought. Alone we will not survive, but together we have a chance." Some villagers, like the stubborn old farmer Rehan, scoffed. "What can I do that others can't?" he muttered. He had always worked alone, believing in the strength of his own efforts. Others felt the same, unsure of how joining forces would help. But Marta was persistent. "We need to combine our skills and resources. No one person has all the answers, but together we are stronger." Gradually, the villagers began to see her wisdom. The blacksmith offered to repair broken farming tools for free, while the carpenter helped build an irrigation system to draw water from the deep underground well. The children of the village collected rainwater in every container they could find, and the older villagers shared their knowledge of hardy crops that could survive in the dry soil. As the weeks passed, something remarkable happened. Where once the fields had been dry and lifeless, crops began to grow again. The shared irrigation system flourished, bringing water to the parched land. By pooling their skills, energy, and determination, the villagers achieved what none could have done alone. Winter came, but Varan was ready. Their barns were full of food, their animals healthy. The unity that had grown during the summer transformed the village. Even Rehan, once solitary in his ways, admitted that Marta had been right. "There is power in working together," he said, as the village celebrated their survival. From then on, the people of Varan remembered the lesson of the drought, that through teamwork and collaboration, they could overcome even the greatest challenges. They knew that by standing united, they could thrive no matter what.
Imagine this. You spend your entire life trying to fit in, striving for approval, shaping yourself according to expectations that are not even your own. You seek validation, fear judgment, and hold on to the idea that your worth is measured by how others perceive you. But what if everything you've been taught about caring too much is actually holding you back? What if the key to true happiness, confidence, and success is not in controlling everything, but in letting go? Michel de Montaigne, a thinker centuries ahead of his time, explored this paradox deeply. His philosophy is a guide to inner freedom, self-acceptance, and the art of living without unnecessary burdens. He challenged the very foundations of what we believe about identity, success, and the pressures of society. And by the end of this journey, you will understand why the moment you stop caring about external validation, everything in your life starts falling into place. Think about it. How much of your stress and frustration comes from trying to meet expectations that don't even belong to you? How often do you hold yourself back because you're afraid of being judged? How much of your energy is spent on worrying about things that, in the grand scheme of life, have little meaning? Montaigne's philosophy reveals a simple yet powerful truth. The more we let go of external pressures, the more we align with our authentic selves. He believed that life is unpredictable, that perfection is an illusion, and that self-acceptance is the highest form of wisdom. But here's where most people get it wrong. Not caring doesn't mean being indifferent, lazy, or unmotivated. It doesn't mean withdrawing from life or ignoring responsibilities. It means freeing yourself from the constant need for approval, the fear of rejection, and the exhausting habit of overanalyzing every action. It means living on your own terms, being present in the moment, and understanding that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Montaigne spent much of his life reflecting on the nature of human behavior. He observed that people are often prisoners of their own minds, caught in endless cycles of worry, self-doubt, and insecurity. He questioned why we allow the opinions of others to shape our decisions, why we cling to control when life is inherently uncertain, why we chase an idea of success that is not even our own. And most importantly, he asked, what would happen if we simply stopped caring about these things? When you stop caring about being perfect, you begin to embrace your flaws. When you stop caring about external validation, you start living for yourself. When you stop trying to control everything, you make space for life to unfold naturally. And here's the paradox. The less you care about proving yourself, the more powerful you become. Think about the most confident, charismatic people you've ever met. Are they the ones constantly seeking approval, over-explaining themselves, and trying to be liked by everyone? Or are they the ones who seem at ease, unbothered by small worries, and unapologetically themselves? Montaigne understood this secret long before modern psychology confirmed it. People are drawn to authenticity. When you stop seeking validation, when you embrace your imperfections and trust yourself, you naturally become more attractive, not just socially, but in every aspect of life. The moment you detach from the fear of failure or judgment, you gain something even more valuable: freedom. The freedom to take risks without overthinking, the freedom to express yourself without hesitation, the freedom to simply exist without constantly measuring your worth by external standards.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Once you let go of unnecessary worries, not only do you find peace, but things in your life actually start to improve. Relationships become more genuine, opportunities come naturally, decisions become easier, because they are based on what you truly want, not what you think you should want. This is the essence of Montaigne's philosophy. He believed that most of our suffering comes from resisting reality, from trying to force life into a mold that doesn't fit. But when you release that resistance, everything begins to align. Think about this. How many times have you hesitated to speak your mind because you were afraid of what others would think? How often do you replay conversations in your head, worrying about how you were perceived? How much of your life has been shaped by expectations that were never truly yours?
What is it about Chamberlain University?
To step away from these self-imposed limitations, he challenges us to embrace uncertainty, to accept imperfection, and to stop allowing fear to dictate our choices. And this is just the beginning, because as we dive deeper into his philosophy, we will uncover practical ways to apply this mindset to your life, ways that will help you break free from mental barriers, make decisions with confidence, and truly experience the freedom that comes from letting go. Michel de Montaigne's philosophy is not just an abstract idea, it is a practical guide to transforming the way you experience life. And now we take a step further. What happens when you truly embrace this mindset? What changes when you stop chasing approval, worrying about every possible outcome, and allowing fear to dictate your actions?
Like
Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that most of the pressures weighing you down were never real to begin with, that the rules you have been following, the expectations you have been trying to meet, and the fears that have kept you stuck were all illusions created by society, conditioning, and your own mind. Montaigne understood that human beings are naturally anxious. We are constantly overthinking, trying to predict the future, and struggling against the unknown. But what if the key to happiness is not in solving every problem, but in surrendering to the fact that some things are simply out of our control? One of Montaigne's most powerful lessons is this: the world will never fully understand you, and that is perfectly okay. Think about it. How often do we waste energy trying to explain ourselves, justify our choices, or prove our worth to people who may never truly see us? We hold back our true opinions to avoid conflict. We suppress our real desires to fit in. We constantly look outside of ourselves for validation, when in reality, the only approval that truly matters is our own. Montaigne believed that much of our suffering comes from caring too much about things that do not serve us. He observed how people tie themselves in knots over petty concerns, holding on to grudges, fears, and insecurities that ultimately add no value to their lives. And yet, when you step back, you realize that most of these worries are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop obsessing over a problem, a solution naturally appears, or that when you stop chasing someone's attention, they suddenly become more interested? This is no coincidence. It is a reflection of a deeper truth. When you let go, life flows. The problem is, most people resist this idea. They believe that if they stop caring, they will lose motivation, that letting go means giving up. But this is a misunderstanding. Not caring does not mean apathy. It does not mean laziness. It means shifting your focus to what truly matters and freeing yourself from the weight of unnecessary burdens. Montaigne encouraged us to embrace imperfection, not just in ourselves but in the world around us. He understood that striving for absolute control is an exhausting, never-ending battle. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how much we try to plan, prepare, or manipulate outcomes, there will always be things beyond our reach. So why not surrender to this truth? Why not accept that mistakes, failures, and uncertainties are simply part of existence? Consider how much lighter you would feel if you stopped trying to control every detail of your life. If you stopped overanalyzing every decision. If you stopped fearing failure and instead saw it as just another step in your journey. Montaigne reminds us that every great thinker, leader, and artist in history has faced failure, rejection, and misunderstanding. Yet they did not allow these things to define them. They moved forward, unbothered by the opinions of the crowd, because they understood that true success is not found in external validation. It is found in living authentically. And here's where it gets even more interesting. When you adopt this mindset, people begin to notice. You become more confident, more magnetic, and more in control of your own life. Not because you are forcing anything to happen, but because you are no longer wasting energy on things that do not serve you. Have you ever wondered why some people seem effortlessly successful, while others struggle despite working tirelessly? The difference is not always in talent, intelligence, or even hard work. It is in mindset. Those who thrive understand that detachment from unnecessary worries allows them to focus on what truly matters. Montaigne's wisdom teaches us that the more we release, the more we gain. When we stop fearing failure, we take more risks. When we stop seeking approval, we become more authentic. When we stop trying to control everything, we allow space for unexpected opportunities to arise. This is why the philosophy of not caring, when applied correctly, is not about giving up, but about gaining freedom. It is about choosing where to direct your energy, focusing only on what brings meaning, and refusing to be held back by distractions that add no real value to your life. Think about your own life for a moment. How much of your stress comes from worrying about what others think? How many times have you hesitated to pursue something you truly wanted because you were afraid of judgment? Will somehow change them. Montaigne's approach liberates us from these mental chains. He reminds us that the past is gone, The future is uncertain, and the only thing we truly own is the present moment. And when you fully embrace this truth, everything begins to shift. But there is still more to uncover, because in the next part, we will explore a surprising insight: how detachment, rather than leading to isolation, actually creates deeper and more meaningful connections with others. There is a strange paradox in life. The moment you stop needing something, it often comes to you effortlessly. When you stop chasing approval, people respect you more. When you stop fearing failure, opportunities arise. And when you stop trying to control everything, life begins to flow in ways you never expected. Striving for approval, you open yourself to the natural rhythm of life. And in doing so, you begin to experience something truly remarkable: a sense of peace, power, and connection. But here's the question: if detachment is so powerful, why do most people struggle to embrace it? The answer is simple: because we have been conditioned to believe that control equals security. We have been taught that if we try hard enough, plan carefully enough, and worry intensely enough, we can shape the world to our liking. But Montaigne reminds us that this is an illusion. No amount of control can eliminate uncertainty. No amount of planning can prevent the unexpected. And no amount of worrying can change reality. Instead of resisting life, he invites us to embrace it exactly as it is, with all its unpredictability, imperfection, and chaos. Think about your relationships. How many conflicts arise because of unmet expectations? How much suffering is caused by the desire to make people act a certain way? How often do we try to control the opinions, actions, and emotions of others, only to end up frustrated, disappointed, or hurt? Montaigne understood that true connection is not about control, it is about acceptance. The more you allow others to be themselves, without trying to change them or force them into your expectations, the deeper and more genuine your relationships become. This is why those who practice detachment often experience greater love, respect, and admiration. They do not suffocate others with demands or expectations. They do not need constant reassurance. They simply exist in a state of calm confidence, allowing others to come and go freely. And ironically, this makes them more attractive, more respected, and more valued. Have you ever noticed that the people who are the most desperate for attention often receive the least of it? And that those who are at peace with themselves naturally draw others in? This is the power of letting go. Montaigne believed that the way we relate to others is a direct reflection of the way we relate to ourselves. If we are constantly seeking validation, it means we have not fully accepted ourselves. If we fear being alone, it means we have not yet become comfortable in our own company. If we need others to act a certain way to feel secure, it means we have not cultivated our own inner stability. But the moment you shift your focus inward, when you stop trying to control people, when you stop fearing loneliness, when you stop measuring your worth by external standards, you become truly free. Think about it. How much of your emotional energy is spent reacting to the words and actions of others? How often do you let someone else's opinion ruin your day? How many times have you held on to resentment, anger, or disappointment, only to realize later that it served no purpose? Montaigne teaches us that peace comes from within, not from the approval of others. And once you understand this, your entire approach to life changes. Imagine walking through the world unshaken by criticism. Imagine facing uncertainty without fear. Imagine being able to love and appreciate people without feeling the need to control them. This is what happens when you stop caring about the things that do not truly matter. And here's the most important part. Letting go does not mean withdrawing from life. It does not mean becoming indifferent or emotionless. It means engaging with the world fully, but without attachment, without unnecessary worry, and without the need to force outcomes. Montaigne's philosophy is about balance. It is about caring deeply about the things that truly matter, your values, your purpose, your inner peace, while releasing the things that drain your energy and serve no real purpose. So ask yourself, what are you holding on to that no longer serves you? What expectations, fears, or attachments are weighing you down? And what would happen if you simply let them go? As we move into the final part of this journey, we will uncover the ultimate realization, why embracing uncertainty, imperfection, and detachment does not just lead to inner peace, but also to a life of deeper meaning, success, and fulfillment. At this point, you might be wondering, if letting go is so powerful, why don't more people embrace it? Why do so many remain trapped in the endless cycle of anxiety, approval-seeking, and control? The answer is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of what might happen if we stop micromanaging every aspect of our lives. Society has conditioned us to believe that if we loosen our grip, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, when you stop caring about the things that don't truly matter, everything falls into place. Montaigne's philosophy is not about recklessness, it is about wisdom. He teaches us that by letting go of unnecessary worries, we gain clarity. By releasing control, we gain freedom. And by embracing uncertainty, we gain a life of deeper meaning and fulfillment. Think about the greatest moments of your life, the moments that truly mattered. Were they planned down to the last detail? Spontaneously when you least expected them. Some of the most beautiful things in life cannot be forced. Love, inspiration, creativity, and even success. They often come when you stop chasing them, when you create space for them to appear naturally. Consider the artist who no longer worries about whether their work will be accepted by the world, and as a result, creates something truly extraordinary. The entrepreneur who stops fearing failure, takes bold risks, and ends up changing an entire industry. The person who stops searching desperately for love, and in that space of self-acceptance, meets the right person effortlessly. This is the paradox of life. What you hold on to too tightly often slips away, but what you release often comes back to you in greater ways than you imagined. Montaigne reminds us that life is not meant to be a struggle. Yes, there will be challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties, but fighting against them, resisting them, and obsessing over them only adds to our suffering. Instead, he encourages us to flow with life, to accept its imperfections, to laugh at its absurdities, and to find joy even in the chaos. Because here is the ultimate realization: you do not need to control everything to be happy. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You do not need to fear uncertainty, because life itself is uncertain, and that is what makes it beautiful. When you stop caring about external validation, you become truly confident. When you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. When you stop trying to control every little detail, you allow space for magic to happen. And that is what Montaigne understood centuries ago. Wisdom is not in trying to conquer life, but in learning to dance with it. So as you move forward, ask yourself, what
My mic is muted.
I digress. My mic is muted.
Now if you and your legends shoot this up to 10, the airways belong to Disciple and the war chief blend. First digest the heat from my toaster. Blast, cotton can last on your block out the class.
Yeah, digging on the Sheba, tapping on the Sheba, singing they want sunset, cotton you want nuts and the ass whipping, and feel it when it kick in. Never juggle satin, coolie coda can't blow. Coolie how is how I pump when the convincers in my clutch. Your murder one sung it then hush.
The
Hollywood.
awakening, how much notes are we raking in? The more we vision, you ain't fit for this division. So put the splits on it. Tell your Foxy put her lips on it. It's murder one when the stone's
I'm
on
trying
it.
to tell you now, the copper here from the 3 o'clock
shocking. A something terrible that happen when you're foreshadowing. No counterfeit, never dug the sound of it low. Cold toasted out, razor candy cut, what? Low sugar streets where the hustle crossing cats meet. My kin looking like Flint about to boogie Inside in. Sheba sugar walls, trying to landscape pleasure. I faced the north in the north face bubble feather. Stone tribe jungle life, diamond crook campus. Destined for Sugar City and we copping Willie I got Snippets. you wide. I keep you wide. I got you wide. I keep you wide. Once the heaters on, you know that mean the war chief sent. Melting ice grills from the Ace Boone and Mac 10. Eldorado R and a sparkling Chevrolet. All the dough sacks until I see no It ain't no stacks such in. thing as 3 o'clock. I cruise the block in my snorkel. A tie link swing, 6 figures. I'm trying to see it, so I'm coasting. Sipping on some clear patch of potion, got me tipsy. Waiting for some sugar rain to hit me. This is living. Screeching through the cracks of Hell's Kitchen, talking dynamite slang in my wheels while I'm brick Check the pitching. crumb pressure, Terrell sugar love out of sight. Double modern block bus, EG grade airtight in the war chief. Pulling the old brown sugar corn through the doorway as sugar hit the stairway and down. I can dig it. Can you dig it? Diamonds glow. Geechee stay fresh in the flesh, dice fro. We Thundercats, it's all about stash in the coffee. Butter dripping off me. I talk it like I walk it on uptown grounds. Jungle champ compounds where the laws always found and war chief run the town. The last cards was dealt, so it's the last hander. Scat cats from the sugar flats, low bander. Running reps, pulling coats to the counterfeited. Shy catch you on the rebound, sweet and low digging.